Right, hello. So you already know what my name is, okay? And I've got an interesting video today. What I'll be doing in this video is breaking down how exactly we were able to scale our agency to $21,000 in a single calendar month. Now, as you can see, the proof's in the pudding. In the month of October 2025, we were able to pull in £15,824.82 cash collected, not revenue, money that hit the bank, and that was $21,637. Okay, so we have done it, right? And what I want to do is, first of all, okay, give you the origin story. So I didn't run Set by Scales by myself. Okay, me and Aaron co-founded Set by Scales way back when, and I've since left Set by. It's been around a few weeks since I left. Aaron is now the only person, founder, really. You know, I'm no longer, I co-founded it, but I'm no longer co-CEO. Yeah, and look, right at the very start, we met up at a basketball like sort of event. It was with the mentor we both had at the time, and we met each other in London to smoke cigars, play basketball, talk shop. Again, you can see here, yeah, great to finally meet you. Need to link up soon. Fantastic. And then Aaron at the time was actually building like his own video editing business, and I was then working with a content agency mentor. And so we started talking a bit, and that was back in July. We actually got started in like August, September-ish, and we actually got started with Content Wave. That was the name of our agency to begin with. And that all came from this conversation where he was like, okay, cool, you're thinking about starting a personal brand. We started chatting for a little bit, and then we decided to start working together. Yeah, so that was all well and good. And I just kind of want to break it down because, yeah, February 2024, so this is a while, so 2025, I should even say, right? So this was in 2024. We were growing Content Wave, and that didn't go according to plan. And the reason I've got February 2025 here is because even though we look really happy and glum, you even got Calvin in the middle, who's now Set by Scales as operations manager, and things were not going that good. In February, that was the month before we lost all our clients. Yeah, we lost all of our clients apart from one in March. I'll speak for myself here, but yeah, times were tough. We thought we thought we'd hit 10K in like 2 minutes getting started, but it was a grind. And this picture means more to me than just the smiling faces. This picture is a reminder that, yeah, we were in Mexico, Playa del Carmen of all places, trying to scale our business that was ultimately failing. Like, our business was failing, okay? But we were able to turn it around, okay? So during this picture, we were known as Content Wave. April then rolls around, right? And we then rebranded to Set by Scales. And the reason I've got these two pictures here is because for the whole entire month, we were so focused on the mission that if we saw anybody scrolling on their phones, we'd be like, yeah, bro's scrolling. Yeah, and we'd be like, yeah, bro really doesn't want to hit 10K. So yeah, if you were caught on your phone scrolling, sin bin for you. Straight up. Not allowed. Work only. Like, I literally went down to Bournemouth, okay, to scale the business. And I'm really glad we did that. Well, I did that, or whatever. Because we were able to do our first 10,000 USD month, which is 7.7K pounds, give or take. 7.5, so £200 over. But that took me going down to Bournemouth through blood, sweat and tears to try and get the job done. And we did get the job done. That was our first month. And I remember Aaron and me going like, damn, we've done it, mate, after everything. And I know he's got that video of me showing that striped dashboard. That was a very good day. But we were able to do it. And the reason it took us so long, okay, is I'm going to go and break that down in this video, okay? But there's a little bit of the origin story. We started off as Content Wave. We really tried for the longest amount of time, yeah. And then, yeah, we were only able to hit our first 10K in April. We didn't really have any guidance. We didn't really have any support. We were just throwing things at the wall, hoping things would stick, genuinely. And I don't want that to happen to you guys watching this again. So that's the origin story out of the way. If you care about my personal story, I've got a link down in the description if you want to go see that. Yeah, cool. So, foundations. So why we were able to make this work. Not just to get to 10K, because that was blood, sweat and tears. That was just going at it. But with the 21K month and how we were able to do that. Yeah. So here's what we already had. We had proof. We had results. Okay. We understood funnels. We understood pipelines. We were more than just setters at that point. And I hate just setters, but separate topic. And we actually had a network. We had a bunch of people in our corner that we could rely on. Yeah. And if you haven't got a skill, you don't really have an agency. Just the way it is. But we took time to build our skill set, to network, to understand the funnels, understand how content works with ads and how that and the positioning impacts the setting and then maybe even the close. We took our time to learn that. Okay. And we scaled because we deserved to scale. I remember the whole entire month, of April 2025, it should say. Let me change that to 2025. That whole month, we were just there going, we deserve this, we deserve this, we deserve this. And we threw everything at it. And we scaled because, look, we deserve to. And even in the 21K month, right, October 2025, we deserved to get to that point. Our network was too big. Our proof was stacking. Our understanding of everything was quadrupling, and that's why it works from a fundamental perspective. Okay. And when I then go down to part 3, here's how we were able to get to 21K. We had 2 engines. Okay. So what we had was our B2B engine and our B2C engine. Okay. So we had the privilege of having 2 people, Aaron and me. Some people running an agency only have 1 person running the agency. Some agencies have 2 people running the agency. In the case you have 2 people running an agency, you can afford to have a B2B person and a B2C person. In the scenario where you've only got 1 founder, you have to pick a major and a minor. So if you want to go more down into the B2B route, then your major has to be the B2B route and the minor has to be the B2C. Or if you want to start coaching or whatever, then okay, cool. As a solo founder or a solo entrepreneur, whatever you want to call yourself, the B2C is the major and then the B2B is the minor. So you've still got that working out for you. And as you can see here, here's how it worked. So with the B2B, it was recruitment, management, training, with a special bonus of show-up rates and taking care of them. Okay. And then when it came to our B2C engine, that was skills acquisition. So plugging in the gaps and giving you the skill set. Data tracking like A/B tests and how to actually predictably make money, basically. And then finally, the execution plus placement. So not only giving our students clients, but also teaching them how to find clients as well. And then finally, what we did with our B2C, so our students, our mentees, we put them in proximity with other operators in the space. So people with bigger brands than ours, people with smaller brands than ours, but people with brains similar in level or greater. You know what I'm trying to say. We brought our students around people who knew what they were talking about. In all fairness. Okay. And they were the 2 engines we had. Now, you've got one side and you've got the other. But the bit that really makes the money, like the bit that really allowed us to scale to 21K, was the flywheel. And now you can see here, I've got recruitment going in from one angle, then I've got execution and placement going in from another angle. And this is the magic. Okay, flywheels are always the magic. So as you can see here, let's say we have B2C demand. Okay, cool. We then train the people in the B2C community. And then because we train them, let's say from this point they're on a client's account. Well, that's the whole point. You get your mentees onto your client's accounts because that way you're then training the setter, and then the more the setter is trained, then the better results you're going to get for your clients. And the better results you get for your clients, the more proof you get, the better your reputation. Once you've then got proof, once you've got reputation, it then becomes easier to then get more clients. Then with more clients, when it becomes easier, you get more demand for the B2B, then get more demand for the B2C, and it goes in a flywheel. It goes in a cycle. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, so quite smart, I know, but you sign up B2C mentees, and you place them onto B2B offers. You train your mentee, you then get better results for your client, you then get proof, you then get a better reputation. I don't need to explain that again. Okay, so that there is the Rainmaker, right? And I then want to go down to part 4. So we've gone over the engines, the B2B engine and the B2C engine. Okay, that's crucial. Now, what was the shift that actually changed things for us? Because we hit 10K, fine, but then we dropped for a while. It was about a month or two, we completely dropped in what we were earning. Because at first, we were working with multiple niches. Like there was a trading coach, there was then a couple of dating coaches, there was a marketing agency, another marketing agency doing something else completely. There was a bunch of people doing a whole bunch of random stuff, and every single person is slightly different. And you have different demands, different audiences, different ICP, different scripts, different tonality, different ways you message. And that was mind-boggling. Okay, trying to juggle all of this. That was tough. Okay. We didn't really have any systems. Okay. We just kind of done things. We just were very combative. Okay, that's where we kind of went wrong. And fulfillment was chaotic, in all fairness. I remember my calendar being booked up from like 1, 2 p.m. Bangkok time all the way to like 2, 3 a.m. Bangkok time. I was doing night shifts at that place, man. And after all my calls, I'd then do work and then go sleep around 5, 6 a.m. Bangkok time. It was tough, right? And it was chaotic. I'm bold for a reason, okay? Had to pull my hair out. But here's the shift, okay? We were able to go into one niche. And the main niche we actually went into was the Airbnb niche. So if you're in any of our hiring chats, so Set by Offers or whatever, yeah, you'll notice a lot of Airbnb offers in there, right? It's because we went with one niche. We simplified things. One way of speaking to people. We understand what people's pain points and desires are. Messaging remains fairly the same. Positioning, we can, copy paste it to a certain extent, right? So that's a big thing. We had one core offer. Well, I'll break down the offers in a minute, okay? We had one core offer, and we weren't doing custom fit offers per client anymore. Like when we first begun, we were doing that. We were doing anything we could, to get clients in through the front door. So they'd say one thing, okay, and we'd tailor our pitch to fit what they were saying, which is a bad idea. I'm warning you now, it's a bad idea. You have one offer, you give the offer to the client. Do they want it or do they not want it? If they don't want it, sound. Don't try to then customize your offer to fit that, because I promise you now you will get headaches. That's exactly what happened to us, okay? And data-led management, and I'll get onto the data piece slightly further on into the video. So yeah, hang tight, okay? And what we were able to do is we were then able to scale, because we hit the first 10K month and then we dropped down for a couple months after because fulfillment was chaotic and we could not scale. Things were not easy, so we had to drop a lot of our clients, a lot of them. And when we were then able to consolidate, that's when we were really able to scale, like really able to scale. That's when we hit our first £10,000 month. And then the 21K month, 21K USD month came a couple months after that. Okay, so that's where it came from. Cool. So how did we actually manage our sales teams? Okay, so the management process is split into a few pieces. You've got the recruitment, you've got the management, you've got the training. Okay, so from a recruitment standpoint, again, you've seen Set by Offers 2.0, sales reps hiring ops or whatever it's called, stories. We get the application form and we put it out there into the market. Okay, we then start screening candidates. And then we start to skill assess the people that applied. And this is especially for the external market. For the mentees, okay, cool, we could kind of shortcut them. Of course we could. Right, it's our offer, we can do what we want. Fine. But ultimately, from an external perspective, then yeah, we had to make sure we could do a role play with them and they were actually good. We had a full dedicated resource just doing role plays with people on the Set By page. That's how that worked. Okay, cool. Then with the management process, you want to separate setters and closers. That's the thing. They've got different roles, they've got different responsibilities. Okay, so separate them. Deal with them not individually, but categorically. Okay. Small huddles is always better than big huddles. Like you'd always rather have a smaller team, like a team call, than you would do a bigger team call, because then you're stuck speaking to one person for 5 minutes and you've got to try to really go around the table. Less is more. Okay. And again, every single Monday, what we would do, especially with our larger teams and our largest client, we'd have a Monday meeting where we would have the whole team, setters and closers, okay, and we'd go around the table pulling out their cash collected, their revenue, things of that nature, cash metrics, and we would identify bottlenecks there, give out bonuses. That was a thing, and there would even be a leaderboard. So across all sales teams, you've got a leaderboard, the person who then gets the highest setter score or closer score, for example. So calls booked times like show up rate, times the cash collected, something like that. But a score was put together to track the leaderboard, and the person who was top of the leaderboard got 100 quid or something like that. Yeah. And then that, cool, sweet. And then with the training process. So first of all, yeah, skills foundation. So when it comes to training people in your sales teams, especially setters, because that's what we were mainly doing, we were going through and checking the chats, checking what they were doing. Because again, if you don't see what's happening, like the boots on the ground warfare, if you don't see what's happening, then how can you fix anything? Doesn't make sense. Okay. We would do live role plays. So I'd even get onto like hour long calls with the setters and just do live setting. Yeah, genuinely, right? Data feedback loops. So again, looking at the reply rate, and I say this to everybody, but the single fastest way to get more commissions whilst you're setting is to take care of the reply rate. That's the easiest and fastest lever you can pull to not just get more replies and get more conversations, but again, to then get more commissions, because you get more commissions by having more conversations, and you have more conversations by getting people to reply to you more. Yeah, cool. Standards, that's a big thing, operator exposure. So standards were laid. Okay, so it's like, right, you need a 30% reply rate and a 15% reply to call rate. You need to do a certain amount of DMs every single day and a certain amount of follow-ups every single day. If you don't do that, something's going wrong. Okay, so standards were put together, so rules of sorts. Okay, and then operator exposure. So to train the setters primarily on the teams is bringing on other operators in the space that are actually pretty good at what they do. It's just a case of putting them into the rooms with our people so they can train our people for us. Yeah, so we would do that fairly often, and that's how it worked from a management process. Yeah, cool. And how we priced. So to go through the pricing, we need to go over something first. Okay, we need to be on the same page here, because if I show you this is called a sales funnel. Okay, and on this sales funnel, you can see a bunch of people coming through. Great, volume down here. Now, what we do, again, let me just go through this. So a sales funnel. You get attention, you get trust, you get conversions. Cool, cool. Now, when you get to the point where so first of all, with a done with you offer, as you can see here, that's the front end. So that's the attraction offer. That's what gets people in through the front door because it applies to the most amount of people. Okay, that's the point of a done with you offer, a consulting offer. Like, we'll tell you what to do, but we're not doing it ourselves. Okay, that's a done with you offer, and we put that out into the market because that's what applies to the most amount of people. Okay, and then what you want to do on the back end when you're actually on the sales calls, okay, is then filter out for the top performer, or top performers, I should say, okay? So on your sales calls, if they're not fully qualified, in our case, what we would then do is put them down onto the done with you offer. Otherwise, if they were mega qualified, then we'd put them onto the done for you offer. And on your sales calls, you only want to pitch one offer. That's it. You don't want to pitch two, you want to pitch one and stick to it. And you do this by going through the qualification process on that sales call, right? Cool. So, had to clear that up. Okay, done with you offer, done for you offer. Done with you offer, attraction offer, the offer you market to people. Okay, what gets the most attraction? The done for you offer is the offer you put onto the table once you've then attracted potential prospects and leads or whatever onto a sales call with you, and then you've qualified them. Okay, once they're then qualified, you can then pitch for the done for you. And of course, you always want to go for the done for you if you can, but you can't start marketing that because not everyone's going to really want that. Okay, so now we're on the same page. Here's how we priced our set buy offers. So done with you, done for you. Okay, with the done with you, we start, so again, recruitment only. I'll start by saying that our done with you was recruitment only, and the done for you was recruitment management training plus a show up rate. But the done with you, placement only, pure placement only. Okay, we started off at $500. We then moved to £500, then £750, then £1,000. Now, typically speaking, if you're speaking to someone who's come onto a sales call but they're really not qualified, and you just want to get a sale in, you can go down to the $500. Okay, you can go down to the $500 per sales rep. Okay, cool. And then you can work your way up to the 1K. If, for example, they say to you, I want a Norwegian closer who has blue hair and wears diamond jewelry on the weekends, but especially on Sundays, then you can charge like 1K. Then you can charge a decent penny. Otherwise, you might be looking at one of these. Okay, especially if they're broke. But if they already have some dosh behind them and it's just a standard procedure, $750 is what we would go for. Yeah, cool. And then for the done for you, it was either commission only, 20% plus, or we would take 1K plus a certain percentage. Sometimes it was as low as 2.5%. Sometimes it was as high as 10-15%. Okay, it varies. That's why I've put it down as X. Okay, but typically speaking, we'd always try to get the 1K retainer for, again, the management services, recruitment, management training, with show up rates getting taken care of. Okay, cool. So that's what we tried to do. Yeah, and then for the B2C, so this was Setter Coaching. Okay, that was the B2C that we ran. We started off at £500 just to get people in. Okay, and then we moved it to 1K, then 1.5, and then 1.8. So we started going up the rung of a ladder, and the way we were able to decide when it was pretty much acceptable to go up the rung of the ladder, or the rungs of the ladder, was when, okay, cool, how many people have we got in the community? How much demand is there? How much interest is there? You know, were the closes coming too easy? Yeah. So we were able to work our way up. Okay, and that's kind of how we did things. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, cool. Then what I want to do is go on to client relationships. Now this is huge because ultimately, if you don't take care of the relationship that you have with your client, then you're more likely to part ways. Okay, the churn rate is likely going to be higher. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. Okay, So when it comes down to the non-negotiables, you need a weekly sync, at least once a week. Okay? You want to share the data with your client because clients love talking about data. That's just it's a thing. Because especially as a business owner, you want things to be as predictable as possible and as watertight as possible. And to do that, you can't operate from thoughts and feelings, but you need to operate from facts, and data provides facts. So sharing this with the client is a huge thing. Okay? And asking for little updates from the client if anything's going on their end or anything like that. That's something you want to do. Yeah. Flag issues early. So if there's an issue you can see on the horizon, even if it's not, formulated just yet, speak to your client about it. Right? Bring new ideas to life and celebrate wins. Don't just be like, yeah, cool, that's nice. You did this today, that's cool. Get really excited for them. You want your client to be your best friend. That's ultimately the angle you want to go for. Like, genuinely. Like, that's the frame you want to operate in. This guy is my best mate. Right? You always need talking about the long-term vision will always help. So I always recommend that. Okay. And then finally, if you can meet up with your client, do it. Just do it. It's all fun and games, yeah, chatting to people on Google Meets, Zooms, WhatsApp calls, but when you see somebody's legs in person walking around and that, it adds a different layer to the relationship. It makes you way less likely to face churn, which is everything, because you put in so much work to get the client, and then imagine then the client churns. So you want to meet people up in person. Meet up with people in person, okay? Then the outcome of this. So, forget that, dead offer. We manage setters, dead. We don't want that, we want this. We manage outcomes and relationships. That's the angle you want to go for. You're being contracted by the client, not just to take care of the meetings or the sales or whatever, but you're there to actually drive and own the sales bit, like genuinely own it, and not just own the outcomes and take full responsibility and accountability, but to also then make sure the relationships are good. And you don't just want a really good relationship with your client, but you also want a really good relationship with your sales team as well. As the manager or as the agency, typically speaking, you eat last. Okay? Your sales team comes first, your setters come first, and your closers come first, every time. Okay? And I always say this, but the appointment setter is the most important person in the business, and watch how businesses squeal when there's not enough calls booked in. That is just a thing. Okay? So, pro tip, cool. Now, when it comes to setting operations, now here's what we track. Okay? So, just the basics. So first DMs, replies, calls booked, calls taken. We're down here as well, the closing data as well. So how many closes were we getting? The amount of cash we were collecting. What was the revenue? And what was the average order value? How much were people paying upfront on average? That's what we wanted to track. Because if we can track, okay, out of the last 50 people who've signed, the average order value is 750, we then need to increase that to $1,000. Okay, cool, let's do it. Yeah? Cool. Now, in terms of the conversion points, the reply rate, reply to call rate, booked to show rate, and then the show to close rate. And you can see here I've got 30%, 15, 80, and 30%. That's what you want to be gunning for, ultimately, with your conversion points, with your rates, basically. You want to be aiming for that, because as long as you can aim for that, you'll be fine. Okay, because even if I map it out, let's say you do 100 DMs, you then get 30 replies, and then what's that? 4.5 people then book in, let's just say 5, round it up. And then 80% show rate, you then get 4 people show, and then you get a 30% close rate, you get 1 close. Yeah? So replies, calls booked, calls taken, closes. 30%, 15%, 80%, 30%. And really it's .3333 forever, but we don't need to do that. Okay, cool. And that's why those numbers are where they're at. Okay, so you always want to be engineering your data to fit that. Okay, but then we got fancy, right? And we then started looking at things like, right, who came from a follow-up message? Okay, when did we first message people? What day was it? Was it a Monday, Tuesday, Sunday? Right? The objections that we were constantly getting, or the frequency of objections, the amount of times a certain objection would come up on a sales call, okay, and the date for which the close occurred. And we went deeper than that as well, okay? So let me show you this, for example. Now we started tracking the first reply time. So again, you've got your first DM, and your first DM is the first message you ever send to somebody ever. No previous conversation history, no chats from 2013, first point of contact with somebody random for the first time ever. Yeah. We then started tracking when people then replied to that message, and this was for booked calls. So we only looked at the data for the people who actually booked in. Okay. When do those people reply back to us for the first time ever? So we've sent our first DM, they then replied to that first DM. What time was that? And then from here you can see the spikes. Okay, 7 a.m., 12, 4, 3:30, then 10. Now, during the month of December, we had our setter at the time literally wake up at like 6 a.m. just to take care of this. And I swear to God, we booked in 2 calls before 11 every single day in the month of December. And the reason we done that is because we followed this. Okay, and on average, we were booking around 7 calls a day, just by following this. Okay, cool. And then we even got, okay, a little fancier. We then started looking at what day was best to actually like take sales calls and actually close people. And you can see here, Wednesday won by a stomping majority. Okay, so you can derive little things like that, get little things like that, and just move your business forwards that little bit more. Okay, cool. So that's really mainly it. And I think if you would like some help with getting your agency sorted ultimately, whether it's a setting agency like how SetBuy is, or something along the lines of that, or look, you've just been setting for a while or closing for a while and you want to take that next step, chat to me. Yeah, my Instagram is in the description. Okay, so feel free to drop me a message and we'll just see what works, right? But then just to, again, recap, how we were able to hit $21,000 in a single calendar month, okay? So the first thing, oh, there you are, $21,000 in a month. To recap, okay? We failed multiple times before and we had results to back ourselves and the skill set, okay? We then created a B2B engine and a B2C engine, okay? We then had one niche, one offer, okay, and data-led management. We followed these management processes, okay? We priced at this and also this, okay? We had really good client relationships and we tracked a lot, okay? So I hope this video has been helpful. Again, Instagram in the description, my story video if you want to know a bit more about me. I've already gone through the origin story of SetBuy, but yeah, my personal story in the description as well. And even if you haven't got a skill or you are setting, for example, or closing and you want to make 5K a month as a setter, I've also got my video in the description as well. So I appreciate you for watching. Thank you.